Well, I am assuming, what the hell's that? I'm assuming people can see me. I apologize for showing up a minute late to those of you who are here. I'm still getting my ducks in a row here, and I apologize if I'm kind of scatterbrained here. But nonetheless, I made a commitment. I said I'd be here at 10. I'm here at 10. I'm trying to gonna do the best I can to not let my eyes wander, but look at you, to stay focused on those who have taken the time out of their life to be here to listen to the crap that I have to say. Like there's anything. I haven't really necessarily planned on any particular subject or topic of discussion to get into, but more or less wanted to show up as I've received over the last few months and even more recently some messages, people reaching out going, where you at, Jackson? Where you at? What you been up to? What do you got going on? So having said that, I thought, well, it's about time. I have the time now, which I once did not, quite honestly. Living a busy and working a busy life. And that takes a lot of commitment to keep things going and keep my life together. And to step away from that would jeopardize it. So I unfortunately did not have the time that I so strongly wanted to have to come here and interact and speak with you folks. So I'm a little distracted right now because where is, oh, there we go. There's comments. There we go. That's what I was looking for. The good old chat, the live chat. Wow, there's 15 people here. That's impressive. 15 more than I anticipated. And I thank you all for being here. I come here today because my inner desire and drive is to be here for a community that's kind of developed organically, especially over the last 3-5 years. A pretty strong interest is come about organically about what Scientology is and what it's all about, and how is it Scientology has arrived at what it is commonly known in society today as a cult, and nothing but a cult. Where at one point, in the last 10 or 15 years, it was more or less a questionable religion, yet worthy of people's time to go and inquire in it and step in the doors and find out for themselves what it was all about. Whereas now it's the general social consensus that you wouldn't catch me dead inside of a Church of Scientology, even just to find out more about a luring title on a book you can see through one of their storefront windows, making one wonder what's about. So maybe I'll go inside and see what's about. No one even wants to do that. So, I I promised myself I wouldn't get distracted by the chat, but I got to say, it's the chat that kind of keeps me going, because the chat, not the contents of the chat, but the fact that there's these live human beings here I'm seeing who are showing up, like I said, to listen to the crap that I have to say. And, not necessarily crap, I guess in all fairness, and especially for myself, that I don't feel I have nothing but crap to offer. I just find that relating and conveying my firsthand experiences in Scientology, and at the it doesn't get any higher echelon of Scientology, would, but what I have to say would better serve and help these people in the chat and anybody else who comes to listen what I have to say, to help them better understand what it's all about. And I give you this information out of the wholehearted truth. I do not, to the best of my ability, and yeah, that's my disclaimer, because as time goes on, some of the brain cells that I relied upon may not exist, or they've jumped into the shadows of my memory banks or my brain, my noodle. And so there's a chance that I may get my wires crossed a little bit, but nonetheless, it's my core value that I maintain integrity to speak to you only what I witnessed and know about, because I was there and saw it or knew of it. And that isn't to say that I would give you an opinion. I'm not willing to give an opinion, but an opinion that you may ask me about on somebody or something having to do with Scientology would be an educated opinion or an educated guess. If I'm speaking about something that I myself did not witness, I was very much part of the environment and the culture of the fear factory Scientology has become. So I know the tactics, I know the actions that were done, I know those who did it. I know how they worked, how they thought, and I knew the most predictable outcome if you crossed their path in a bad way. So, having said that, I bring to you my wholehearted honesty about anything and everything of Scientology. I make a strong effort to not sensationalize what it is I have to say, other than telling you facts. And if anybody out there listening under the radar would find something that I said to actually not be factual, I'm more than happy to have that pointed out to me and help me better understand what I misunderstood. So I'm not here to create a toxic environment, nor am I here to bash anything in particular, albeit I may say or express a personal opinion or observation of mine where I may have arrived at something based off of what I've seen and what I know. It's not what I've conjured up or put together in my own mind, because I don't think that's fair to anybody, any human being, to do such a thing. So, an example of that is a life experience of mine that I've kind of come to witness, that I have found unfair through a natural human interaction process, is that guys at places that I've worked, in that moment of we're getting into uniform or going over paperwork or plans for the day, or we're waiting for our boss to show up for a morning meeting, another employee may say something, yeah, the old lady is getting on my ass, and she really pisses me off. And that's this would be an example of where I've learned it's not fair to be so quick to judge somebody who's not there in the room, number one. And number two, somebody to judge that I've never met. But yet, such a statement coming from a person who not only is married to them, but holds a responsibility to them, for them, not only maybe materialistically or whatever, but holds a responsibility emotionally and supportively. Yet you've found good reason to come here and tell me at work that my old lady's crawling up my ass about something. And my first thought is, well, I don't think it's fair that you tell me that. I'm sure your wife would not like hearing that you're telling me this, painting her as a negative picture, and she has no defense in the matter, but yet you make it off as though she's the bad one. And I'm supposed to run off and right then and there join your side and support you based off what you're telling me in this. Therefore, the next time, or when and if I do meet your wife, I treat her like the crap you've expressed you expect me to. And I don't think that's fair to the wife. So having said that, I kind of convey that to what this community is kind of allowed itself stuff to be entered into. So having said that, it kind of um, it's kind of created a challenging environment that is, through no acts of my own, made my effort in this community significantly harder. And I feel that if I had done something or said something or produced something that made someone else's or a community's actions or efforts hard, I hold some responsibility in that. And I'd be the first one to tell you that I would not shed or or redirect anyone's attempt to point that out to me, and use it as a gauge that what's going on is just creating going across the grain of what we were all here for in the first place. So again, I get back. The only reason I'm here is to help people. And that's what I understand that we're all here for, is to help people. A lot of people claim that that's what they do, but some people have found themselves redefining that of what it means to actually help people. So that's an opinion. That right there would be an opinion. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm concluding based off of what I'm seeing, though, you see. So anyways, to stay away from that, I just, someone's saying in the chat, go Dodgers. Yeah. Hell yeah, go Dodgers. Anyways, I represent. So yeah, there's my, anyways, I'm trying to control my hair. So anyways, I would like to, one thing I discovered, not having been on StreamYard for a while, I discovered an option that I can bring anybody who has interest in the chat live with me here on the screen to, come over and sit next to me and throw questions at me in this public forum if you would like to. So if there's anybody in the chat here that would love to come sit side by side on the screen here with me and have a conversation and throw questions at me, I'd be more than happy to oblige. Don't feel obligated. I'm not here to obligate anybody in the chat. I know it can be discomforting. Maybe I could do it. I haven't tested it, but maybe I could do it just with the audio and leaving a blank screen, not showing people's face, if that brings you comfort. But, well, here's somebody. Is that my brother? It says I'm down. Well, let me see if this will work. Put user in timeout. Let's see. Well, having said what I just said, at the editorial or educational how-tos in StreamYard, what I read, what I can remember, made it seem simple, and it was just click here, click there. So I'm going to use, this is my brother, Jorge. Oh, look at that. I clicked on one and thought I was clicking on love your humble, no BS vibes. Well, thank you. May the force be with you. Assuming you're a Star Wars follower. Anyways, thank you for that. Let me see if I can do this. I hate this. Yeah, there we go. See, that's Jorge. That's my brother, Jorge. So it says that I can, and sorry, Jorge, I don't see. I'm gonna have to make an effort at that. So I threw something out there that I'm not able to see work. I thought it was going to be, because I can't really test it until I go live. So this would be my first time at trying to do it. Hopefully I can figure it out and actually make it happen. But I thought it was a neat little feature. So being that Jorge's there, golly, why can't I do it? Come on, Jackson. Because I actually was like, oh yeah, I really would like to do something like that if people are up for it. SPTV Tattoo Warrior, where you been, friend? Well, maybe I should spend a little time explaining to people where I've been, because I've been here, um, and SPTV Tattoo Warrior. Uh, um, I've been really busy. I've worked a work schedule that at one time started at 2 in the morning, so I would get up typically around midnight. I don't like to make a running start to the day. I like to roll into the day. So getting up, taking in a bit of the serenity of a quiet night, getting myself together, having breakfast, and then I always show up to work early. So um, I typically showed up 45 minutes to an hour early to work. That gave me time to figure my day out, um, get some interaction with my fellow employees, because my work, we would show up, spend 15, 20 minutes together, get our directions from our supervisors, and then off in our own individual trucks, we would go, and you would just be by yourself all day long. So it was the time window in which you could interact with fellow employees, or what I consider teammates. So, um, and then schedule changed to me starting work at 5:15 in the morning. And I typically, even though one side of that same job I'd start at 2, the other side of the job I started at 5:15. Ironically, I'd end up getting off at the same time. Um, and federal law dictates a commercial driver can only work 14 hours in a given 24-hour period. So finding myself working 14 hours, then having to drive home, then having to get something to eat, then having to do the human desire, which is chillax, and then get a sensible amount of sleep. It just consumed my 24-hour period. So if you do the math, there's 14 hours. That leaves another 10 hours to do. So drive time would consume, I would end up getting 6 to 5 hours of sleep a night. So it was a busy. And then I had chores at home. So I apologize. And then also, I still to this day do a lot of work. Now, I do a lot of work behind the scenes of helping people. And I field phone calls. I don't do a tremendous amount, but from those who I help, I have built working. It isn't just taking one phone call and being there for somebody, or doing what was needed or what was asked, what type of help was asked. These conversations in a lot of cases would stretch for days, weeks, and months, to where I would constantly just call them back, or they'd call me back, and me helping them, listening to them, help them navigate the troubles they were going through. So I found myself quite committed. And then also, there is a lot of behind the scenes work that I'm personally involved with a number of other people. And unfortunately, I cannot speak of any details to that, because all it would do would knock the integrity of it out, and give the Church Scientology, and particularly OSA, who's sitting here right now, documenting word for word everything that I have to say. And then when I'm done saying what I'm saying, they go back and they dissect it and try to put together the pieces of what I'm saying, so they can put in an effort to undo what I and others are doing and working so hard at. I can tell you this, that what's being done today is something that I myself wish that I had for myself available to me when I was in dire need of help. And it gives me a great level of satisfaction personally to know, it's kind of a weird situation to experience, in that the very thing I'm doing is, I wasn't even aware of hoping that there was somebody out there doing this, but doing this kind of work for me, to then trip across and go, oh my God, there's actually people here that can help me. Well, that's what I and others are doing, and actually making strong, hard work at it. And I can't say enough that I myself am wowed at how positive the results are of what we've been able to accomplish with. Doesn't cost me a dime except a lot of my time and whatever travel expenses that are associated with it coming out of my own pocket, um, constantly, because I refuse to take a dollar for something that, to be paid, uh, to be paid for doing, to give the appearance that all the traumatized people here to listen to is like, all you do is walk away and go, he's just here for the money. I don't want to ever give you that because I feel that goes against the grain. That's my opinion, that it goes against the grain. That isn't to say that, if there was an opportunity thrown at me to make some money, I most likely would put it in perspective as to what's at play. And by default, you have to be paid on certain aspects of what we do because to keep it legitimate. So I'll turn around and use that money to help somebody else. So even though I may accept it, I maintain further integrity that I turn around and use every penny of that to actually help somebody else. As opposed to go out and buy a brand new pair of shoes or pay my mortgage or paint my house. I pay for that stuff out of my hard work. My actually putting in an honest day's worth of work to create that wherewithal to afford me a good life. So I kind of put separation between the two. If any monies that I get, I'm just being honest with you. Again, this is a topic that I had no idea I was even going to talk about, but since I'm here, I'm saying all this to help all you listeners out there understand that it's important that integrity in this community is kept, the sanity is kept strong. It's easy to buy into, sensationalized statements, some wow factors, especially, and the unfortunate thing is, and I was going to say especially, but it's not especially, it's coming from sources that do not, I know they didn't walk the walk. They weren't there. And on the flip side, I wasn't there where they were. So I have no valid statement to say anything about what they know about or what went on in their world at the time. It's not fair for me to that. So I don't even get myself mentally involved or become part of that. So why do that? Well, why even do that? And if I were to do that, all it's going to do is muddy the waters for those who are here to seek a better understanding for themselves, to help themselves navigate themselves through this world that we all commonly arrived in called Scientology or the Organization. So why do anything else? I just don't get it. But anyway, that's my opinion. That's the reason why I stand strong for myself and myself only, of being there honestly for all of our listeners and viewers. So that isn't to say I may trip over my feet every now and then, and I'm more than happy to be pointed out about it. And I don't say that, so, come on, bring it on. I'll challenge me on what I got to say. I'm not, that's crap. I'm just I like to keep it simple. If I say something that sounds wrong or a little askew, or that just can't be, that doesn't sound wholeheartedly true, Jackson, can you further explain? I will do that for you. And do the best I can to keep it honest, keep the integrity in, and keep it very real. Because what is real is Scientology and this organization. What is real is David Miscavige being a true criminal, a violent criminal. And I say those two things because I witnessed what I witnessed, and I know the people who know the specifics behind those claims I've just made about him, that he's a criminal, that he's so much. I'm not of the literate word. I'm no professor. I can't get up and give a TEDx talk and articulate specifically in a very charismatic PhD level dialogue. I wish I could. My mind does. It just doesn't come out my mouth that way. So I apologize that. But I can tell you, I bore firsthand witness to know that Dave Miscavige is a very, very bad human being. And so I'm here to help you all better understand that and to better understand the culture, the fear factory that he's created in Scientology. So having said it all that, Jorge, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry that my idea didn't. God, I just it said to do this, and just to right click on the comment, and it can happen. So, oh, let's see. Let's go invite. Invite special guests. Send this link to your guest. You can have up to 6 people. Guests can stream to this to their own. So, I have a question just because the stream came up. Can anybody answer me in the live that are you seeing this on my YouTube channel? Because I'm a little illiterate, computer illiterate, not that savvy as to where this is all happening. I could swear I set it up to, I'm assuming that's where you're seeing it at, is my YouTube channel. So, so let's see. Oh, okay, good. Okay, well, thank you, Maddie. Yep, on your channel, Nomi, thank you. And there's Jorge Panchovilla. Okay, well, thank you, folks, for being so quick and responding. So that gives me relief, because the reason I ask is, okay, well, just because it popped in my head, I'm going to give you a little story and relate what it was like walking the day-to-day at the Imp base and what I myself did. Oh, Patrick Skinner says, only seeing the live chat. I don't know how to fix that for you, Patrick. Let's see. Only seeing the live chat. I don't know where to direct you to a solution for that. I apologize. If all you can see in the live chat, if there's anybody in the live chat that has something to offer to help Patrick Skinner out, I'd appreciate it. Simply because I don't know what to offer him as a solution to that problem. If he's interested in seeing my ugly mug, then I don't know how to get that fixed for him. So maybe it's setting on his end, or it's something that I've done myself that is not affording Patrick the ability to see my face. So anyways, I'm going to go down a little bit of a hole, rabbit hole, not a rabbit hole. It's a good hole. In reference to what you see here in the background, my little firefighting world. Let's see. There we go. That doesn't seem like I should be going towards my face, but all these little relics here, that 25, that helmet, that Cal Fire, that helmet, all mean something to me. It's very little what I have to show you of my representation of my fire background, but as a staff member, a full-time committed billion-year contract signed Imp-based Sea Organization member, somehow, some way, I was able to indulge myself in really what I wanted, what I had personally chosen to do in life. Where you make that decision, you come to that realization wherever you are in your life. Mine happened to be when I was about 9 to 10 years old, 7 or 8 years old. I was waiting to be picked up by my coach to go to baseball practice in the summer sometime. I want to say 74, 75-ish. Anyways, I was just a young kid, and I just remember having this feeling, this realization about myself that actually really kind of washed through you. You feel it run through your bones of what I want to do in life, and that was to be a firefighter. Now, that was at a time of my life where that's what I want to do. It's just, I felt my calling, my interest. I wasn't all giddy about it. I wasn't like, I want to go be right on the red and shine, the shiny red and chrome thing with the lights and sirens. There was none of that desire. It was truly, I wanted to be a firefighter and everything that goes with it. So having had that realization at such a young age, I couldn't then the next day get up and start studying and figuring out where I need to go to study and how to become a firefighter. That was that life moment for me. So what I wanted to do. A number of short years later, when I'm 11 or 12, um, Scientology came knocking at our door, and out of a situation of opportunity for my mom, for whatever reason, concluded that we are going to join the Sea Organization. And my mom was a single mom. My father had moved on to somewhere else. I didn't even realize it for myself that's, hey, wait a minute. I want to be a firefighter. How do I stay on that path of that desire without going down this path? I didn't even realize that was something that I needed to take a challenge myself. But anyways, that desire was set on early on in my life. Fast forward to the early 80s. Here I am at the Imp base in security, interacting with, the powers that be, the backbone structure of what made up Scientology, this very interesting world, not even realizing what I was fully a part of, being part of, or was to become part of. But I was in this fascinating, unique world, and that was at the international base out in San Jacinto, California, specifically in Gilman Hot Springs, California, where the international base was set up. And because we were in that environment, Riverside County in Southern California, to all you Southern Californians or anybody who watches the news nowadays, knows that Southern California is a hotbed for wildland firefighters, or wildland fires, brush fires, weed fires. I call it wildland. That's just the nomenclature in the fire service. So, we'll comically say, yeah, we got a weed fire up the road. But, my language, talking on the radio, interacting with firefighters, like we always call it a vegetation fire. So it's like, yeah, I need to go out and cut the vegetation. I don't say go cut the grass. I call it vegetation. So that would be an example of me saying shit that I don't even need to say, but I just am just adding color to what I'm trying to explain to you. During the summer back then, and this is back in the 80s, Southern California certainly had year-round fires. There was vegetation fires throughout Riverside County. They'd be bigger the closer we got to the summer, of course, because the weather conditions supported large fires and brought about the ripe conditions for vegetation fires to rapidly spread and rapidly grow. Excuse me. So, because of the geographic location of the Imp base, which was very remote, it still is, part of, at one time it was the main road that divides the main property of the international base. At one time, was labeled as Highway 79, state highway. It was a state highway 79 for the state of California. So it was part of the state highway system. So it was a main thoroughfare in and out of, it was the one of three major, only three main arteries of travel into and out of the Hemet San Jacinto Valley. So to get there, you had to go through Golden Era, and having, there's a little tidbit. My point being is we were in the outskirts, the outlying areas of the bordering town of San Jacinto. And at that time, back in the 80s, the closest gas station was a good 20-minute drive minimally one way and a good hour the other way. So it was pretty remote, considering. If you didn't have a car, you're pretty much screwed. So people traveling through there in the twisty turny roads of Highway 79, accidents would happen. People would drift off the road, just basically get in their own accidents, or situations would happen, and we would be the first point of contact for people seeking help. Cell phones were not popular and all that, so it wasn't uncommon to at least 4 times, 5 times a month to have somebody stop by and report an accident down the road. Out of the good nature of our heart, because I was working security at the time, it's human nature to race down and see what you can do to help somebody. So progressively over the course of that time, we were learning how to best respond to such scenarios, and organically realize that the only thing and the best thing we can do is control traffic until fire and police show up. Concurrently, internally, there was this interest internally to get the security guards, for which I was one, to become trained and certified, to obtain our CPR cards, our cardio, to be trained and certified to perform cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and to be first responders, such as being able to, we've been properly and professionally trained to provide emergency medical care until people can get transported to the hospital if we were to find fit. So that led to creating interaction with the first due fire company, which was not too far up the road. It was Station 25, Riverside County Fire. It actually was a state firehouse, a state-owned, state-funded firehouse located in the city of San Jacinto, but staffed by state employees that were paid for by the county of Riverside. So California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, which is what their identity was at the time, has a contract with Riverside County to provide fire services. And it's just more of an economical way for a city to afford themselves fire services to the people that live in their jurisdiction and live within their area of responsibility. So the city or county would pay the state to provide the equipment and the staffing to provide emergency services. So I became involved pretty heavily with the fire department. So one day, responding to one of these calls, the fire captain came up to me and it said, "Hey, why don't you guys," me and the couple other guards that were there with me, offered, "Why don't you come and apply to be a volunteer firefighter?" And I was like, "What?" I wasn't even aware that was a possibility. Now, up to that point, every call that I would go on, progressively over a couple of years, Shelly Miscavige herself, Dave Miscavige's wife, would send me and another security guard, Kenny Siebold, out to help communities that we could see had a fire or fire threat near them. Because where the base was located, we kind of had an elevated view back over the San Jacinto Hemet Valley, and we could see big columns of smoke. And Shelly would go, "Why don't we get out there and help them, contribute to the community, go out there and help them?" I mean, she wouldn't just go, she wouldn't question it. She would come down and scream at us and go, "Get out there and get out there and help them." I mean, she was basically asking me to abandon my Sea Org responsibility and go help them. I just loved it. And Kenny and I, we had no idea what we were going to do. We went there and did the best we could to help people. And that just developed over time, leading to this conversation with this fire captain, offering us to become volunteer firefighters. I then threw that back at Shelly. It's like, "Hey, sir," and I say sir because that was the thing that we did, is called each other sir with the militaristic backbone of the Sea Organization. I said, "Hey, we were offered to come join the Riverside County Fire Department as volunteers." And she was like, "Great, go do it." And she says, "Jackson, you have carte blanche." I mean, that was the word out of her mouth, that I have carte blanche to do that and fully embrace it and do it. And that just fed into my personal desire. That's what I wanted to do in life. And it was kind of an interesting thing that I found myself being afforded as a Sea Organization member. It would be unheard of for somebody to be in that position as a Sea Organization member to do. So if it wasn't for Shelly, I wouldn't have spent 20 years as a very active volunteer firefighter. So that led into me embracing it fully. I took full advantage of it, went and did all the training and certification for it. I built myself into becoming basically a company officer. I took full charge, full lead of, embraced it in full. Did all the training, did all the certification, did all the maintenance training, did all the continued educational training, ran all the calls. I ran tons and tons and tons and tons, responded to tons and tons and tons of calls. Um, I got certified early on to be a fire apparatus engineer, which is basically bumping up from a firefighter rank to earning um, bugles on my lapels, doing the necessary training and certification required of any firefighter to become the one that drives a fire engine and pumps the fire, runs the fire engine, providing water on the nozzles to put the wet stuff on the red stuff at any fire. So that was quite an accomplishment for myself personally. I had to go through a whole entire academy. Um, and that's a whole story amongst it, upon itself, to give you the details of that. But that was quite the success for me personally to achieve that certification. And in a merit-based system such as the fire department, it was really a proud moment for myself to now become that person for my fellow firefighters and move into that level of responsibility as a public servant. That basically, it's one thing to say you want to be a firefighter. It's another thing to shake hands, to realize that you're that person that is behind any call placed to 911, that a citizen of society is relying upon and entrusting to come to their personal life and help them non-judgmentally and professionally, and to right the wrong, to right the trauma, to right the tragedy in their life. And that was, very humbling. It just fit up right my alley, what I wanted to do in life. So there was no, look at me, I'm a firefighter. I was doing exactly what the frickety frack I wanted to do in life. And at the same time, I was helping mankind and clearing the planet. So it didn't shine. It didn't help me recognize too much more quickly the batshit crazy that I found myself in, called Scientology, or the base out there in Gilman Hot Springs. But it pecked away at it, and I kept dipping in and out of the two worlds: the outside world, the Scientology world, the outside world, the Scientology world. And it eventually helped support my so anyways, having said all that, these relics I point out in the background, those come with a lot of memories. A lot of memories that I found myself. Funny thing is, just yesterday, out of the blue, contacting one of the boys that kind of grew up with me. And we went down memory lane. Such a fun thing. But, this guy meant the world to me. This thing right there, that yellow thing that says Cal Fire on it, he actually made that. He took the time out of his life to have that made for me. If I were to move it up, you would see my name hanging from below. It's kind of just a fire relic that you kind of collect throughout your career. Every firefighter has things they collect. And like my helmets, that helmet that you can see the number 2 on, that was a helmet that I melted on a fire. It was a training fire, but nonetheless, I shook hands with the devil, and then that prompted me to run right out and go buy a new helmet. And that's the one on the left. And that's the one that I wore to the last of my days. But those 2 helmets represent 20 years of memories and activities as a public servant. And I take a lot of pride in that. That's just me. But I feel awkward speaking about it because, you all who had never been a firefighter find my stories or my involvement with it fascinating. But I kind of feel I do my fellow brotherhood, my brothers and sisters who are still there or went there and continue beyond me. I was just a volunteer, but there was people there that did this day in and day out, 24/7. And I wish I could have. I did as much as I could, believe me. If I could find a reason to get the hell off that base and go jump on an engine, I would. And because I had carte blanche from Shelley, so I ran every call that I could. I even almost went on the Yellowstone fires. If anybody remembers the Yellowstone fires, I was like, fell 10 minutes short of jumping on that engine to respond to Yellowstone Park and become part of the, help battle the Yellowstone fires of the 80s. Anyways, So, yesterday I found myself talking to this good old buddy of mine, and he has now built a beautiful life. This man has not only a beautiful wife and bride, who I know personally. I don't know her as much as he does, but she knows of me and I know of her. I know the happiness and brightness that that woman has brought to him. Um, and I was there in the development stages when they first met. Um, I know how happy he was to have found her in his life. I never interacted enough with her to know what he brought to her life, but the sheer fact that she stuck around knows that she met the man that I know who's a good quality man. And to see the life that they've built now is just incredible. And it's very honorable. I'm honored to be considered a friend of his, even to the smallest degree. It's and the two beautiful girls that he has, the life that he's built for himself did not come easy. And you know, the guy means the world to me. So, anyways, there's a lot of firefighter buddies that do, but this guy was in his own way. Uh, you know, I'm trying to not be specific about him because I don't want to people to Google this or disrupt his life in any way. But you should know that there's a human being out there and there's a beautiful family out there, and I know there's plenty others out there too. But it's so soothing to the soul when you find yourself having friends that like that in your back pocket. I get to proudly walk around and have that little jewel in my back pocket of these two people in that family. And too bad geographics keep us separate to hanging out every day. But whether it's a 1 day or 1 year that we talk, we speak as though there's never been a step separating us. And I'm also happy to know that other people have this in their life. I'm not unique, but I just wanted to share that. And again, there's a lot of memories behind those helmets back there, and that little 25 back there, that represented my station number. But it was a thing back in the day that um, out in Riverside County, that when you go get your little that's called a table number that you go into it. That's a Carl's Jr.'s table number that when you place your order and you're going to eat in, they would give it to you to show what order number you were, so you could go down, sit at your table, and they bring your food to you, and they take that back. Well, I asked to see if I can keep it just because that was my station number. And I just, we all thought it was cool. Every firehouse ended up collecting one, and it was quite common to go to various fire stations, whether it's 16, 2, 5, 19. You would find such table markers at the firehouse sitting on top of the television or something. So it was just a little thing. So having said that, I forget what I was. Oh, okay. So my fire career. Um, yeah, I had quite the experience. Here's a beautiful thing that's come from that, being a volunteer firefighter and having been in Scientology, and especially in the Sea Organization, and especially at the Imp base. Because like I said, any Sea Org member that you could have asked then, and especially now, hey, can you go sign up for become a volunteer firefighter? First answer right out of their mouth is no. There's no way in hell that'll work. It'll get disapproved. I'll get in trouble for even mentioning it. So I was afforded a very rare opportunity to do such a thing. And I got to tell you, I have built this community and have maintained connections I could have never imagined. But here's the interesting thing from that. And at the time when I was taken off my job as a security chief, when I fell out of favor, um, and when I became a severe security concern to them, and I expressed I chose to no longer be there. Um, well, I need to take this comment down. I'm just seeing. I need to pay attention a little. It's a little distracting. Sorry about that. Um, when when I finally arrived at that point where I'm like, the light switch came on for me and I was going to leave and no longer be there, I was cashing in the life in the world that I knew it to arrive at zero. And zero was a better option than enduring another day there. Um, uh, and throughout my involvement at the fire department, I was constantly faced with, in a direct or indirect way, with this unspoken mystery about Moorhead and what he's involved with out there at Golden Era Productions, which is what it was known as locally in the local community, because that's what it was, and that's what the signage was put out front on. Um, First of all, for years it was understood that we made porno movies out there, so we had to work our way through that public area relations misunderstanding. Because where information doesn't exist, other people tend to fill that void with their own information, and that's what we became known as, is because we were so suspicious that that's all it can be, is that we make porno movies out there. And so that became the local chitter chatter about what Scientology is about out there. So, and then it just became this weird entity, this secretive environment that you can't just pull up to the gate and get a happy answer with a happy question, and be received with open arms. Whereas anywhere else in society you could do that. It didn't. There was no entity that existed in society that you would drive up to, or walk up to, or inquire about, that you would receive such questionable responses and walk away with a distaste in your mouth going, wow, that was weird. So I lived with that at the firehouse. But yet firefighters by nature are not judgmental. They see the goodness of your heart, the kindness of your heart, and the goodness and honesty of your efforts. And because you're part of the brotherhood, they don't draw judgment on you because of that. So I had this embracive firefighting brotherhood, so they saw me for who I was and what I was all about. So that's what the day-to-day activities were when I was a firefighter. So the day that I left and cashed in everything that I knew in my life, included the fire department, and the church tried to use my association with them against me, in that I had in my possession my safety gear, my turnouts, my bunker pants and turnout coat, and my gloves and my wildland gear, and all the safety gear that the county issues you as a firefighter, I had in my possession. So oddly enough, I found myself using that as a wager tool, you can't fuck with me that regard. If you take my safety gear away from me, that's stealing from the state of California. And they never touched my safety gear. It was kind of like my little safety blanket, my connection to the fire department. But because how active I was in the fire department, firefighters randomly would drive all the way out to Golden Era to knock on the door and go, hey, where's Moorhead at? It's unusual for him to be so out of touch with us. Please tell us what's going on. And those conversations literally were had. And they would be fed a bullshit story that I'm on project, I'm this, everything's fine. And that was the case. At one time I was sent on this mission for the better part of a solid year down to Los Angeles. And I could not involve myself with the fire department to keep up on the required training hours, or number of calls that I would respond on in a month, and keep up on the demands as a volunteer firefighter. There's natural demands that come with, if you're going to be a firefighter, well, you have to show a certain amount of training within a certain month, and it's all got to get documented, and you got to document the calls you go on, just to show that you're giving back. We're giving you the opportunity to do this. We're affording you the equipment. We're affording you the training. The give back is you document your involvement in this department. So being that I couldn't keep up on that, sometimes you find yourself, and I not being the only one as a volunteer firefighter, you have to step away and take a leave of absence, but you stay in touch. Well, I found out that when I had no ability to call back to the firehouse and go, hey, listen, you're not going to hear back from me from a year. I even told my handlers that I need to call the station and tell them what's up and when and where I will be, because they're going to be questioning I know they're going to be questioning, and thus they're going to question you folks. And it's going to create this unneeded suspicion about Moorhead and draw this negative concern about Golden Era and Scientology. And you guys are just fucking up here. Let me call the firehouse. And I, in all honesty, was just trying to be that good person of just letting the fire department know and casting shade on what's really going on. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there. Keep me on the books. Excuse me. I got to take a drink here. But I'm sorry. I'm really hopeful that you guys don't get to hear me swallowing my my drink or hear fluids moving through my airway like I found some other creators have done. It's their tonsils get in the way of their microphone, and it's kind of distracting. So I hope I'm not repeating that. I kind of set that up with my microphone here to not catch so much of the details of my voice, but just enough to be clearly understood. So anyways, um, so, so there I was, the church, I was using my safety gear as a leverage factor to maintain contact in my own righteousness, my own self-defense, my own survivability. I mean, you may have been able to control all aspects of my life, but this is one thing you cannot control, which is my basically being a volunteer employee for the Riverside County Fire Department in the state of California. And they had no control over that. And they freaking hated that. But they also hated the beautiful, important, powerful connection and relationship that I brought to that property, and brought the fire department into understanding the property and interacting with the property and my staff, affording my staff a better understanding of how the fire department works. You know, I'd bring them in and put on displays, show them how the engine works, have my fire captain give them a briefing on general safety or whatever. Let my staff know who and what my captain is all about. You know, there was a very intimate relationship that I had built over a number of years that pretty much any base staff member could claim association to if they found themselves in a social setting. It's like, yeah, I know the local fire department so well that I can go down there and hang out. You know, it was that kind of level of relationship that I afforded my staff. I wanted them to be comfortable with that. I wanted them to know what the fire department was all about. I wanted them to know what I did and what I bring them and what these public servants bring us. So that was over the course of a number of years. Having said that, when it came time for Jackson to leave and stand strong for my own survivability, it meant the church tried to use that all against me in the end. And they also created these weird scenarios at the firehouse. Like the first time that I had hopped the fence secretly and was trying to reconnect physically with my wife, who was separated. We were physically separated from one another, and it was driving me batshit crazy. And I was working up these devious plans in my mind to get myself physically in the presence of my wife and to never allow separation between us again. But I couldn't overcome. She was a 20-minute drive away, in the back countries at the foothills of Mount San Jacinto through an Indian reservation, under watch 24/7, solely because of who I was. Her life was completely turned up in turmoil, and she was being completely beat down as a human. And not only that, but the beautiful wife that she was to me. Speaking of fire engine, there goes a fire engine by right now. Hey, buddies, those guys don't take good care of their equipment. Anyways, so my trying to overcome that scenario and reconnect with my wife, when I would hop the fence and try to make a run to get there before they move my wife away from where I knew her to last be, and I would end up opening a door to an empty room, and my wife's no longer there. They would go to the firehouse and stake out the firehouse. Now the firefighters that were there at the time I didn't go looking for this. They reached out to me. They reached out to me because they saw my story on the Scientology in the aftermath that I partook in. They could not believe the shit that I was involved with. And they, out of compassion, reached out to me to let me know the details behind what went on to something that I wasn't aware of. And that's when I became exposed to my brotherhood. If I'd only known at the time, there was 101 people in an arm's reach away that would have given their life to help me protect my own life from that church and afford me a safe and secure way out. I had no idea that resided, because it was in my mind that I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to create a bad image for Scientology. But it took all these years later to discover all these stories of all these firefighter buddies of mine reaching out and giving me their own unique involvement and witness to the batshit crazy out there that I myself didn't do, but these guys, the church themselves. Now, I tell you, I didn't do, but I helped formulate these procedures that my firefighters found the church performing, such as setting people up to watch the firehouse and go to the firehouse and keep an eye on the firehouse in hopes that Jackson will show up. It would be the similar of putting somebody on the first ATM where one can draw cash on, put somebody on that, because if he needs money, that's the place he's going to come. Well, if we're going to find Jackson, he's going to go to the firehouse. So let's go put people on the firehouse until whenever, and just watch out for the place and watch for him to show up. And it was the most creepiest debriefs that I would get from the fire captain and firefighters that were there at the time. They were like, this is the most awkward, craziest shit. So, having said that, my whole point, I think it started this conversation off with was, using my guy that I spoke for 3 hours with yesterday as an example of there has been probably 20 firefighters that have come out and going, holy smokes, Moorhead, I saw your story. I'm so sorry. They didn't need to say any apologies at all, but the fact that they felt the need to express their empathy and tells me that that for them to arrive at they're at was a representation of a lot of people's hard work up to this point, in that from people who've spoken out the first time to Scientology in the aftermath and to what's being done today, that society now knows about the batshit crazy of Scientology to the point where it's openly spoken about. That wasn't the case at one time. And now these people see that. And I attribute that I had something to do with that. I help afford the truth. I help afford the specifics to society in large to understand Scientology is a cult. And it was just very interesting to have come to witness that. And that is basically a simple representation. Those little expressions for my firefighters are individually simple representations of the hard work of many that have come up, from Tori to, I'll happily say myself, to Stacy Vaughn and Vaughn Young or Stacy Young and Vaughn Young and Jesse Prince and Janice and Mark and Aaron and who else? Tori and Claire and Mark and Laura. All these people have, Sterling. I keep throwing these names in there because all these people have their own important contribution to this and creating this understanding in society that once didn't exist. And that's what society needs, is to understand that Scientology is crazy. They can no longer keep the curtain up. We've pulled the curtain down to expose them for what they are. Now the next step is to hold them accountable, them being those that are still there, accountable for what they did, what I've witnessed that they've done, what I've understood from my good friends at the time that they did to them, witnessing the fear factory that's been created, the whole nine yards, that Scientology has turned out to be not only what I thought it once was, but to thousands of other people. It's just the numbers are increasing every day that Scientology is not what it was made out to be. And it truly is, by definition, a cult. And it masquerades as a business under the cloak of religion. That's just batshit crazy. And how our government doesn't understand that and respond to that and hold them accountable for it proves the power of politics. And because that's all it is politics. Anybody in their right mind would go, you know what, dude? You're not doing what you agreed to be and what we identified you as, and that is a tax, what do they call that? A 501c. You know, these are the stupid things that leave my mind as to what the heck it is. Tax exempt. There we go. Yay, my brain works. To be a tax exempt, to take benefits of being a tax identified as a tax exempt entity. And that is Scientology cheating society. Is they got away with it to keep up their antics, to hide their keep up their facade. That's the only reason, is to keep the money in. They truly do not, none of that money goes back into society for what other entities, other churches, other religions, other organizations that are identified as tax exempt organizations. You can actually see it's their tax exempt status is tangible, where Scientology's is not, wholeheartedly. And society's waking up to that. And I pride myself of being one of the many messengers that have brought that understanding to society. It's so satisfying. That's helps define the backbone of my passion as to why I'm here. That's why I've always been here. Even through this recent moment of silence, this radio silence of Jackson, where have you been? I just been living a busy life, but that isn't to say that I don't concern myself about this mission at hand, this holding Dave Miscavige accountable for his crimes effort in the back of my mind. That's led to me putting in hard. And, this only sounds like a song and dance to you because I can't give you the specifics. I wish I could. But my honesty is my only means of support towards what I'm telling you is the truth, that there's a lot of no bullshit effort. And I'm talking serious work that would flip the church the fuck out if they knew. And that gives me satisfaction on that alone. But I'm just going, hey, we're beating you with your own game and you just don't even know it, but yet it's happening. And it's diligence, it's integrity, it's honesty, it's a continued passionate involvement. It's not a fight. It can be defined as a fight, but I don't treat it as a fight. You sucker punch me, I'm going to sucker punch you. No, I am simply working towards holding that entity, and specifically Dave Miscavige, to be held accountable for his actions. Because it is my conclusive belief that if Dave Miscavige wasn't at the helm of Scientology, it would not be the evil fear factory that it is today. Other people may try to continue doing the actions, but they don't have the backbone that he instills in them, such as the Mark Yeagers and Guillaume Lazars. It is my educated belief that they would default back to their kind human, being a kind human, and return Scientology to what it once was, even though it is, my own opinion also that Scientology isn't truly what it is. That's a whole different subject. But I don't go after what people believe in, because belief is just that, it's a belief. So I'm not after the belief of Scientology. I'm after one's involvement with a religion that masquerades as a religion under masquerades as a religion when it's actually a freaking business. And so anyways, that gets, so I just feel strongly, oh my God, there's John Shamwowski, dude. You're just another guy that I know I can hang out and have a good time with. You've come to this community. You would be a fine example of, I've got my little, all these little dolls in the back of my Scooby, my Mr. Bill, my Gumby, my Marvin the Martian. That's John Witowski. He actually made me this. The Apple Box boy, Dave Miscavige, he actually made this by his own hand and sent it to me because he understands my passion of communicating what Dave Miscavige is about. And I just love that people come to this community to contribute that way, because it just it's the purest form of human interaction, you know. God, it's something so simple but so hard to articulate, but again, so simple. And I just love you. I cannot have any less love for you as a brother than a brother, but yet we've never met. But I, weirdly feel that we've met. Is that, if that says anything correct? Because you would be another example of Mr. John Shamwowski. It's always, I'm always finding myself, how do I truly respectfully pronounce that dude's last name? But he himself was even turned into company just to make an effort and make it easier for people like me to properly pronounce his last name, and Shamwowski. So I'll keep it at that, Shamwowski. I really hope you only had your own infomercials, but he is just a good representation of how simple it was to give him the truth and to afford him the ability to understand what Scientology is about and to draw his own conclusion based on him being informed of the facts and the facts only. And I'm sure he can also decipher between what's going on in this community, between there's factual information and then there's non-factual information and then there's sensationalized information. And two of those three little tidbits I gave, I can bet you, John, he clearly sees which of those three is the best to believe in and help him better understand what's at play. Not, we all look at the sources of information that we're giving about things. And some people deviate off that path. They were once on that path, and then for some reason they've drawn interest and gone down a different path and added more color to it unnecessarily, and it's actually deviated from the truth, but yet gives the appearance of the truth, because at one time when they were telling the factual truth, you think from then on that anything they say is the truth, when in fact I'm sitting here observing these people who I know from what I know, they were once telling the truth and now they've gone down a path of no truth and little bit shimmers of the truth, enough of the truth to support the garbage they're bringing to the forefront now as truth to the ill-informed, to the people who truly don't know. All you folks who are here, it's 66 of you, small amount of people, but if it's just one person sitting here listening to me, that's a huge crowd to me. But there is, people who come here looking for the truth, and the integrity has been kicked out the window in some cases. And that infuriates me. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's not my interest to go down a fight and start fighting something I don't need to fight. All I can tell you is this work being done by others that is creating this toxic environment is making my job, my involvement, my passion so much harder now. So much harder to do what was otherwise hard already, but I was willing to be hard, but now there's an unnecessary influence that didn't exist, but this unnecessary influence created by others that are we're all commonly here in the same community, but their actions are affecting my efforts to help people. And I don't like that. And if I found myself doing that, I would think that I hold a responsibility of correcting that and undoing that toxicity. It's not okay. It's not okay. The reason I don't give you specific names here, because I'm not that type to go, Timmy said this and Bobby said that and Freddie said this and fuck Freddie and fuck Timmy, but I like Bobby, but Bobby says this. What? That's so off topic. What in the community that we are here to afford the people to come to, seeking help for themselves as individuals and a better understanding of what this batshit crazy Scientology is all about, and bringing to the table a better understanding based off of our personal experience, to deliver the truth. It's so crazy. So I'm not asking for people to join sides, this, that. The fact that there's even an ounce of interest to create division. There should be no division. There's two foundations that are there to help people, but yet there's efforts being made to push one aside over the other. What the heck is that about? That's like the Red Cross going against your local CERT, Community Emergency Response Team program. Why would you do that? Why would the CERT program go against the Red Cross? And why would the Red Cross go against a CERT? We're all here for the same thing. Well, blah, blah, who's in charge of the West Coast division of the Red Cross, he likes Nikes, and us over here in the CERT program, we like Adidas. And I've always liked Adidas, and I can never understand why people over there in the Red Cross like Nike. Who gives a crap? Why? What does that have to do with the topic at hand? So, can you see my passion, my passionate interest in getting this to stop, to get it back to what we all came for here in the first place? So yeah, having said that, kind of been a backbone of my motivation to at least show up on the radar again and be here, to be here for the people who are seeking the truth. So that's what I come here for. I'm not trying to get into the drama side of it and contribute to it in any way. There's people in this community who I call my brothers and sisters that I know have their own trauma, and I don't understand. There's just so much I don't understand. But those of you who know, I've reached out and we've had extensive conversations. My passion behind what we talk about, and my support of you and those in your life, and those of you, not only yourself included, but we all played in the same sandbox, just different corners, but it was the same sandbox. So why are we throwing sand from one corner to the other? I don't get it, but I'm not one to do that. I'm here for everybody in the sandbox, as I always have been. And let's get back to that. So, there we go. Having said that, there's a lot that I would like to cover. Let's see, how long have I frickin' been here? 1 hour and 17 minutes. I don't know if people were bored with that time frame or not. I seriously was hoping, I was seriously hoping to be able to bring somebody in here to have this new creative experience of, hey, if you're in the chat and you'd like to come sit side by side with me here on the screen where people can see us chit chat, then yeah, I'm going to go back and look for, I saw a question in here earlier. I want to give the respect for somebody who actually threw that out to me, to answer your question. So somebody actually, forget your name, although I saw it was highlighted with question. So here it is, Ted S. 10:35. What time is it now? God, almost an hour ago. Ted S. Question. What was it about firefighting that captured your full attention? Did it have to do with seeing fire getting put out, or was it more about saving people and property and not the fire aspect? It was not the fire aspect. It was fulfilling a desire to help others. And for what we have to choose in society is something we want to do. I could have become a doctor. Didn't think that would be fulfilling the same desires to help people, but that wasn't something I was interested in, even though I wasn't well informed as what that had to offer and what I could achieve by doing that. I like the hands-on. I'm more of a grit getter done, get in there, get messy, get dirty, get sweaty, and walk away with satisfaction and making another person's life happier. And the more calls that I responded to, the more satisfaction I got out of it, the more impact that it had more of a direct impact on somebody, because it was that fine line between running up to somebody who was either on that fine line of losing their life, and Mai's and others' efforts help them move away from that losing their life to allowing them to have the rest of their life. That's very satisfying when you shake hands with that. It's another thing to go in, to become a doctor and a chief surgeon or whatever. That's somebody, in more cases, just generally speaking, that's an organized path. That's somebody who gets scheduled to go in for surgery. There's also an ER doctor who, as they come in the door, they need emergency surgery. That's something that I most likely would have, if I would have chosen the medical profession, that was something that I would have been more interested in rather than being a neurosurgeon. Because it's an immediate hands-on, do it now. This is that fine moment. This is that fine line. Get her done and see the results and walk away and go, man, that was freaking cool. And look how happy they are. And when you witness that at the scene of an accident or a medical aid, or you're doing CPR on somebody, or man, I could tell you so many different scenarios that I was faced with. But just that being part of the beginning part of the golden hour, what we call the golden hour in the medical world, at the time an incident happens, whether it be a heart attack, somebody choking, or they get in an accident, or get a gunshot, this is all morbid stuff, or they're having difficulty with a pregnancy, any medical, any life-threatening demand or emergency that someone's right now presented with, the moment that starts is called the beginning of the golden hour. And you have statistically proven that within an hour, that hour is the hour that makes or breaks the survivability of somebody out of this situation. So that's why 911 is set up to be so fast as it is. There's so much at play that people don't realize behind those 3 digits of 911, that if aren't in play, that golden hour would not be respected, and a lot more negative results would be had rather than positive. So, and I'll give an example. Here's a grotesque one, but somebody who takes a gunshot, is shot by a gun once or multiple times, that golden hour starts the moment that individual takes those bullets, and it ruptures internal organs and starts at the chipping away at his life. That's the beginning of the golden hour. The end of the golden hour is that time window that, if literally 60 minutes, but it's the golden hour for this individual, that if you exceed that 60 minutes, there's a less likely chance they're going to survive. So you have to get him, the person has to be discovered. So he could be discovered 20 minutes later, and nothing's been done up to that point of life-saving efforts in that golden hour. So it becomes twice as important. So if we roll up on scene, find out that this person was shot 20 minutes ago, that changes the color and efforts of the whole thing. That we may have at that time decided to transport them by ground on ambulance, to, because this happened 20 minutes ago, we need to order an airship and transport them by air. If that helps better understand what I'm trying to say. So, my being involved in that process, that beginning process of mitigating an emergency in someone's life, I and the rest of everybody in the firefighting world, that's what we live for. We live for it. And yes, there's adrenaline involved. There's so much involved. There's a lot of pride. And I just love all of that. And to be there on grounds that there's such a strong common purpose makes it so much easier to have so much fun, more loving interaction with other human beings of a mutual interest. It's just, it's hard to define. I mean, you guys, people of society, can only see what it's like to be a firefighter, and notice that it's pretty much the one, albeit there are corrupt firefighters, but the firefighting community still has a pretty good reputation because of the nature of what it is they do. And that all those people are there to be in a position to be public servants to help society. Every single one of them love being there. So let's see. So that was that question to Mr. S, if I remember. I'm just going to scroll through here. Yeah, to Ted. Yeah, I guess I could have propped up his question. There was this question. So, what was it about firefighting that captured your full attention? Did it have to do with seeing firefighting, fire getting put out? Now, there is a cool aspect of putting the wet stuff on the red stuff. I can tell you a few fires that I went on that were like holy smokes moments. Because there's nothing like feeling the heat, hearing a fire, seeing what it's doing, and then charging in line, going in there, pulling the bail back, and seeing the effects of what you can do and how fast fire can go out. I mean, we all like watching fire, live coverage of a commercial or structure fire on TV, right? I'm sure everybody watching wishes they could be the one pulling that hose off the line and going in there and squirting it on there and watching the effects of water. You know, I look at it as well, there goes one side of the triangle of the fire triangle has been eliminated. And what water does is remove the heat side of the fire triangle, which is the triangle of the three components that allow things to burn. And that's all that water's doing is removing the heat. That's all it does. It cools it down and it removes the heat and the flames go away. You would also have the same effect if you were to remove the fuel, such as the weeds or the building itself. There would be no fire, right? So you can't have one without the other. So it's common knowledge in the fire world. It's part of the backbone knowledge as a firefighter. It's called the fire triangle. So it's fun seeing that at play because that's a shake of science, shaking hands with science. And you get to learn that as a firefighter, how to utilize each aspect of the fire triangle to remove it. If water doesn't work, then it's like fuel fires, airplane crashes. Why do they use foam? Because removing the heat is not effective. It's removing the oxygen that's fueling the fire because it creates a barrier between the vapors of which on fire and the atmosphere. And thus it snuffs out the fire. It didn't cool it down. It may have innocently, but that wasn't the part of the fire triangle that was being attacked. It was removing what was fueling the fire, which was oxygen, and creating separation between that. Snuffing the fire out is what it does. Then allowed us to control the source of the potential source of the fire, which is what do we now do with the fuel? Well, that then becomes part of the firefighting effort is how do we remove this environmental or threat to life safely? And so there's no more fires and no more threat to life. Well, now we got to figure out how to get this fuel off the ground and into a controlled environment to then see it disposed of. So, or get it back to where it came from, you know. It's again part of fire tactics, but I'm hopeful, Ted, that answers your question, buddy. I'm going to scroll through some other questions. If there's others, God, I wish I could know you folks all on a one-on-one basis because, you know, here's another thing I realized is all these screen names people were forced to come up with because the computer world only recognizes certain characters. And once those characters are taken, such as my name, Gary, nobody else in the entire world can use Gary. If I captured it first, I'm the one that gets to use Gary. If somebody feels strong about keeping their name Gary, well, they may add 2 R's in there. And then that's the only person in the entire world that can use Gary. So we've all come up with these creative names now, SPTV, Tattoo Warrior. Titles like that tell me that is a very creative person that I would just love to sit down and chat with because it seems to say so much about somebody and yet I don't know them from Adam. But based off the title and their comment, I'd say there's some level of good quality person there, male or female. I don't know. You know, my hopeful self could like to believe that there's a good human being there, and I see the good human being based off the stuff they say. Love Maddie, you know, Gary always wanted to help the COS like they do, took advantage of that, and he's loyal, you know. Thank you for saying that. That's not why I'm here, but I love that you take the time to point that out. Thank you so much. Uh, yeah, and I'll bring this up as I'm not sure at Pat. I guess that Patrick much more interaction with the W world than nearly any other SO member. I'm thinking that she's referencing this more interaction with the W world. Oh, I got you. Yeah, that now unspoken world that we used to use in Scientology that actually turned out to be very offensive than nearly any other SO member. Yeah. Yeah, I got to say I had that unique ability, but I'm going to go back down to what Maddie was saying. So Pat, exactly, Gary's me have helped more people than 99% of any other serum. I don't think it's fair for me to acknowledge that. I thank you for saying that. I know you mean no harm and disrespect to anybody else, but my first thing is I know that there's even existing SEER members that I know still exist. I know that there's some level of honest effort on their behalf, but to the Mark Yeagers, to the Danny Dunnigans, to the people, the Kevin Catanos, the very people at OSA sitting there, you guys are only there to forward the evil, fearful, fear factory means of Scientology. You are Dave Miscavige's is it executioners? Sounds like that means I'm saying that someone's trying to kill somebody, but I guess in one hand I am. But yeah, those are the people that are real alive. How about talk about this community screaming about existing fellow people in the sandbox need to be held accountable. How about the real people that haven't come forward and taken their time and dedicated their life to exposing Scientology and delivering the truth, such as Tommy Davis, who we all know has left Scientology, but he's running around life avoiding accountability, and he at least can step forward and go, you know what, this is what I was aware of, just like me. You know what, you can throw me under the accountability bus and wonder why I haven't, but like other people in this community currently and of the past, at least we came forward. We went to the authorities. We delivered all the details that we could to the authorities. Where Tommy Davies and this other gal, what's her name, down in Florida that Aaron says that he's run across, Andy Blankenship. She was working right there. She's one of the more recent ones that have worked with Dave Miscavige. I'm sure she's seen Aaron's and plenty of other people. She's come to this community and resides in the shadows and takes it all in, but she hasn't mustered up the responsibility required to bring what she knows about the crimes of Scientology to the forefront, to hold them accountable, right? Why don't we talk about those folks? Why don't we start screaming at the rafters about society becoming more aware of those, so then it impinges on the world that they're currently in, such as I hear Tommy Davis is in Vegas. Well, if we speak about and scream loud enough, equal if not greater than we are about those currently in our community, but more towards the people who haven't come to our community to hold accountability to the church, why don't we start screaming about Tommy Davis, huh? Now there's somebody to go after. There's somebody to scream about who's running around as a coward right now, who is avoiding taking responsibility for what they are aware of, the crimes that they witnessed, the crimes that they partook in. How's that? That's something that should be daily talked about and dissected and highlighted. And everybody who knows what they know of Tommy Davis, I never interacted with the dude, so I don't got much to say other than what I saw him do on TV. Wholeheartedly supports what I know what was going on behind the scenes, but I didn't know Tom Davis from Adam, I didn't know him from anybody, so I don't have much to talk to you about. I can't tell you about him. So yeah, I wish I could, because I would be one that would start that dialogue. So there we go. I'm catching up on, oh, there's good old, oh my gosh, Nicholas, my buddy Nicholas Rakonen. Look at that, Nicholas My gosh, Nicholas Ricona was an int-based staff member. Wow. He and I have some fun stories we could talk about. Wow. That guy that's a guy who pursued a passion in his life, and he is a professional pilot. Like, ain't nothing but a thing to him. And it's incredible. It's incredible what that guy's done. He's a professional pilot is what he is. Um, let's see. I think I saw another question here. Um, yeah, Tommy Davis, Angie Blankenship. How about even talking about Mark Yeager? How about talking about Jenny Lindstrom? How about talking about Dave Bloomberg? The very people we saw out in the world being puppets for Dave attacking the outside world. You know, poor Norman Starkey. How about dialogue about that? How that guy was disrespectfully came to an end of his life and not respected for what he brought to this world. But also, you know, you can't. I'm not one to nitpick him for. I saw him be beat down. I saw Dave Miscavige firsthand in front of my eyes, out of Dave's mouth to Norman's ears, how he treated him like a absolute piece of crap human being. And, you know, maybe I'll start talking about that because people need to become aware of yet Norman Starkey is yet another one that Dave Miscavige completely tore his soul apart. Oh yeah, Jorge Villa, John Stumpke. There's another one. There's another guy who, if you know, you know, Gary Conley. These are staff members that actually took it upon themselves to do bad things to make themselves look good, to be considered part of the running crowd on staff, that actually walked around and made people's lives miserable to make themselves look good. And have had everlasting effects on people like Jorge. I know firsthand the things that Stumpke and Conley did to my good buddy Jorge to make Jorge feel like a piece of shit. That was their goal, to put him in his place. So not Jorge, but it was an environment that gave Jorge no choice than to go into defense mode, self-preservations mode, you know. Mother effer, these guys, not good people. But I also know that they're there, that the same guys, they were there with the same intent that I was. So I do have a little bit of passion about, they just haven't woke up. But you know what? The fact that they're there now, I know that those two as an example, I know they both wanted to leave the Sea Org. I know they both themselves made efforts to actually leave, but yet were brought back against their will. And that's all they know about Scientology. So it's that vicious, bring them back to the fear factory. That's all they know is the fear factory. They don't know about this beautiful, glorious freedom world out here. And if they did, Gary Conley has a lot of details and dirty laundry about Dave Miscavige and Scientology. So does John Stumpke, but not as much. Has there ever been a redeeming story about Jenny Linston? This beautiful name, Linda Von Stretchclaw? Yeah. Ever. Has there ever been? What does that tell you? You guys have understood what you now, you know, Lydia Von Stretchclaw, I believe you were never in. And I don't say that as a degraded factor. You're just somebody who has never been in Scientology, who came to this community and has drawn interest in what we have to say. You've come to that understanding based off of the facts that have been given to you, not off of hearsay or off of assumptions, but we've shown you the videos. We've related stories of what we witnessed about her, and deservingly so, because that's us bringing her to be held accountable for her actions. And for you to now understand that gives me relief that I wasn't the only one batshit crazy to believe that Jenny was crazy, because she was. And as far as I know, suspectedly she still is. Hopefully she isn't. Hopefully she lost her fire. She fell out of favor with Dave and is now just living a quiet life in the Sea Org and cutting grass and pulling weeds and trimming flowers, because Dave has relegated everybody down to being a glorified maintenance crew there at the base out there in Gilman Hot Springs. Okay, yeah, Lynn. Okay, there you go, sweetheart. You sound like a sweetheart. I hope this isn't a guy, but Lydia typically isn't a male name. But I got to tell you, there's just something attractive about your name, Lydia Von Stretchclaw. I know I've seen it over the last number of years in other communities. It's just, what a beautiful, great screen name. I'm never in, absolutely, and love you guys. Well, I love that you love us guys, and we love you right back. And I'm pretty much certain that if we were to meet face to face, that would carry through. There wouldn't be concern about, well, this is the first time, I don't really know him, but we would just get along type of thing. So, excuse me. Um, let's see. Love Food Kitchen. Directing this at Linda Von. Having grown up near St. Hill, I'm very used to making mischief in the Scientology world. His wife is lovely, actually. I'm not sure if she ever met Jenny, actually. Maybe I shouldn't have brought that up because I don't know what he's, oh, I think that, yeah, love food. Here's what it refers to is, Jenny Lindsay's dad lives near me. I'm tempted to go have a chat. You know what? I do remember her. I know enough about Jenny to know her father. Her father's name's Art. I remember when that movie Untouchables came out because it was highly promoted inside, how this Scientologist got this #1 movie out there, and it just so happens that her daughter is amongst our ranks, and Jenny was applauded for that. You know, rightfully so. My dad's a cool one out there in the movie world. And the Untouchables was the cool thing. So here's Love Food Kitchen responding to that, having grown up near Syrian Hill. I'm sure if she's ever met Jenny, actually, I know. I can pretty much bet, I'd like to think otherwise, that it's not true, that father has not seen daughter in a number of years. I'm hopeful to think that there's some level of organic maternal drive on Jenny's behalf to go hang out with her father at least one time, sometime, somewhere. But the likelihood of that happening, my educated guess is most likely not. Here's a question by Buck Buddy. Question on the lighter side, did you see Janice and Mark's video with Larry Wallersheim and him talking about OSA and the lipstick story? I'm sorry, I can't say that I have, but you're stimulating. Maybe I should. If there's a question that you have attached to that, maybe you feel free to go ahead and throw it out there, and maybe there's a bit of it I can answer now if you're so interested. If not, I will have to look out for that. It is something that I would have liked to have looked at. I'll be the first one to tell you, contrary to what you naturally would believe, I haven't read one book of any of my buddies who have published books. That's from Leah's to Mike's to Mark's to Mitch's to any and all the books that are out there about Scientology that I have in my possession. I only possess them out of nostalgia purposes because we are in the same sandbox, and it prides me to know that I have a copy of their book. I'm being honest with you, and I don't say this because I disrespect them at all. I already know the story, so I don't have an interest in reading it, if that makes sense. And it's not because I haven't read it because I'm not interested. No, I'm wholeheartedly interested, but I already kind of know the story. So, but yet I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't know their story as much as they're providing me the ability to know. But so I can't say much about it. But what I do know is I'm happy and comforted that I have a copy of their book, and in most cases a signed copy, and that makes me happy. So, let's see. I am going to get back. Love food. Yeah, that okay. Some people are answering. They're interacting with each other, which I love. I think that's pretty cool. I love this. Thank you, Linda. I will never tire of the Apple Box boy nickname. You know, I got to say, I just love that I kind of had concluded that because I remember witnessing that at the base when he would come walking in and realizing that wherever this guy goes, he requires an Apple Box. And I just had put that together. That's Apple Box boy. And that John took the time. He gets it. To put this together for me just says so much. That's just me. That's self-serving, 100%. Here's a question. Who is Jenny's dad? His name is Art Linson. You can look him up On Wikipedia or IMDb, he is a director in the Hollywood world, and you'll learn everything about it. Um, let's see. Have I overlooked any other questions? Not a question, just a good story about getting one over on CS and Apple Box. Well, yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you, sir. Assuming a sir, gosh, that's kind of the difficulty if people made up all these names. I don't know if they're a man or a woman to respectfully refer to them. How do you say thank you, kind sir, or thank you, kind ma'am, inclusively? So, thank you, kind human. How's that? Thank you, kind human. I'm hoping that my taking a drink you're not hearing and actually go down my airway like I've heard through some other creators, which I find terribly distracting that I got to hear their sniffles and their phlegm moving through their airway. Uh, I don't know if I'd like to know that I'm not doing that because it kind of grosses me out. So I apologize if that's it. If you guys are hearing hearing my phlegm move through my airway, then let me know. I'll do the best I can to adjust my microphone so it's not picking up such details. Uh, Here's a question. I'd love to hear a story if Nick Rock and the D7 and a fire break. Oh, okay. That's my good old buddy Jorge. I'd love to hear a story. I'm not sure what Nick Rock did. I'm trying to, maybe that's just a typo that's meant to say something else. I know what the D7 is. That's in reference to, um, oh, okay. He's probably talking about Nick Rakonen, a story relating to Nick Rakonen. Maybe there's a story I'm unaware of there, Ponch. I call Jorge Ponch because that was his radio handle. I don't know if he actually likes that or not, but we called him Poncho Villa. That was his radio handle. Instead of calling him Jorge on the radio, we call him Ponch. I looked at him as Ponch from the TV series CHP. Da, 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 da. You look like that guy. Poncho Jorge is a very suave looking Hispanic dude. Anyways, Ponch was very fitting to him. I don't know if he liked that or not, or it was an insult to his culture. I don't know. He was Ponch to me, so I have a hard time not calling him Ponch. So, hey, Jorge. And the D7, referring to the D7 dozer, that was Caterpillar model D7, which is a rather large dozer, a non-enclosed cab, flat track dozer that we owned on the property that we would use to push dirt around and create fire breaks and all that. So, okay, well, good. Jorge, you bring comfort to that. I don't think I've ever asked you if what I say or call you is coming across as disrespectful to you. So I'm glad that you've now clarified that because now I feel better that I'm not. Okay, Ponch. Okay, here's Jorge. I operated the D7 on the fire break. Yeah, Nicholas Rakonen is part of his life's tool trades, his trades of life. Not only was that guy a pilot when he was at Golden Era, he could fly planes, was certified to fly planes. He could also operate a D7 Dozer. This is a man of many talents. And Nicholas was actually your more unassuming man that you would just take as he's just a dude. But yet what he had in his tool pouch, his tool pockets of life, in the back pockets of life is, man, this guy, he could take out a chainsaw and fell a 150-foot tree, and would know he has the knowledge and capabilities of doing it, and then you just go back to being Mr. He was just a very unassuming gentleman, very kind, very warm-hearted, but then he would just hop in an airplane and just fly an airplane. Right, that takes talent, knowledge, and skill. And so yeah, he used to clean my fire break for me, because I used to get the fire break and get the property protected against wildland firefighters every year. I was very aggressive about that because I knew how to do it and I knew the value of doing it. So I held a strong hand. That would include getting Jimmy the sheep herder with the sheep up on the hillside to get the entire face of the mountain behind the property cleared of the weeds to remove the fuel. Um, well, you're welcome, Nick. And yeah, buddy, you and I have a special bond, especially that one airplane trip that you and I took with Ken Hoden out there flying at Hem and Ryan Airport. And that's a memory that you and I and him uh, will only can only share amongst us, right there, Nick? Um, let's see, Jorge. Yeah, you did. I mean, if one were to see it, looked pretty harrowing just to do that. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not referencing. Let's see. Yeah, he's probably answering something I just earlier said. Yeah, you did. I mean, if one were to see it, it looked pretty much harrowing just to do that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Uh, well, you're welcome, Ted S. Thank you for answering your question there. I got to run now. Thanks for everything. Well, enjoy your day, buddy. Thanks for stopping by and uh, giving some input and interacting with us here. Like I said, go have a good rest of your day, Daddy-O. All right. Here is Jorge. You make it sound like it was nothing, but that hill was steep. Yes, it was. Yes, it was, my friend. The hill up behind the property that the international base Golden Air Production Gilman Hot Springs is nestled up against to or up to, that's called North Mountain geographically. And yeah, it was pretty freaking steep and a very unstable granite based surface or granite based foundation. So you couldn't just easily climb up. It was like climbing up in water and you're a lot of movement with no progress type of movement. You had to counteract. Excuse me. I just think I did what I was hoping to not do, which was sniff into the microphone. So yeah, it was it was quite steep. Let me see. Anybody else here? Okay, here's a question. Bo Biddle, question. What's your favorite species to fish for? Is it for the fight or for eating? Walleye tops my Midwest choice. Tastes best on shore. Mr. By the way, 60-year-old grandpa. Okay, Mr. Bach buddy. My favorite species to fish for is salmon. All species of salmon. We have coho, we have silver, we have others that come through our waterways. What I do get to do is boat on the mighty Columbia River. And that is an incredible body of water that comes through that divides the Washington state from Oregon state, that is just a stone's throw from me. And I get to be on that and fish in that beautiful body of water all the way to where it dumps out to the Pacific Ocean in the city of Astoria. And I've been at both ends from here in Portland, Oregon to Astoria, fishing that. And I just love, there's the action of catching a salmon. There's nothing like figuring out the right lures to use, the right action of your lures, the temperature, the depths to be in, figuring it all out, and then getting success. And getting a fish on, bending your pole, getting a tight line, reeling it in, fighting it, and netting it. And the beautiful thing is, it is the freshest of fresh. I get to fillet it and either eat it right then and there, eat it at the dinner table later on, or vacuum seal it, and it'll be fresh to have anywhere else. I also do like sea bass. I've gone offshore to catch sea bass and lingcod. Lingcod is the most ugliest fish, but it is so full of flavor. It's incredible. I've also had tuna. I haven't caught tuna, but I've had fresh tuna caught off the shores of Oregon. And one day I intend to go on a tuna fishing trip. It requires a pretty much full day commitment, if not 2 days commitment to the coast to do that, because you got to go so far offshore to get a good chance at a good sized tuna. But there's people who go out and catch it daily and bring it right back to the docks that you can go down and buy a fresh tuna off the fishermen that go out and fish it. So I could get that. And then there's also Dungeness crab, which is incredibly tasteful, so full of flavor. You know, learning how to catch a species and the comes and goings and how to basically catch these things is an art in itself, and it's fun. It is called fishing for a reason, because you are fishing and you have to be satisfied with the results. Either way, it's fishing. You either go out there, spend a whole day and walk away with nothing. And minimally, you get to enjoy the beauty of being there, because fishing up here in the Pacific Northwest, it's just incredibly beautiful, very soothing to my soul. And it gives you good hang time with the buddies that you go with, good memories, beautiful environment. You've probably seen me post pictures sometime in my life of being on the boat and what it's looking like being out on the water. And it's just incredible. It's just incredible. So tastes best on shore lunch. Yeah, Mr. By the way, 60-year-old. Okay. Walleye tops. I've never had walleye. I can't say that I don't know what it tastes like. I do have the opportunity to go further inland to go walleye fishing. I've never, it's quite an ordeal to go do that. So I haven't figured out. My buddies don't necessarily go walleye fishing. We pretty much have this brotherhood of salmon fishing and sea bass and lingcod. So I need to broaden my horizons on my fishing offerings up here in Oregon. So I know that requires different equipment, different lures, different understanding of the waterways and the highways in which these fish travel, and the fish itself and how to catch them. I'm hopeful they're as tasty or anywhere near as tasty as salmon, but I don't see them on the supermarket freezers. Maybe they are there. Maybe I've just glanced over them, but my eyes go, there's a salmon for 20 some odd dollars a pound. And I just caught one yesterday and it's in my freezer. It didn't cost me $20 a pound. Anyways, so there you go, Mr. Bachbuttle. All right, everybody. I think I've come to a time window of probably, I don't know, there's been coming on 2 hours here. I think this may be a good first start to answering the question, WTF, Jackson, where you been? Yeah, Lydia, it is. Yeah, I'm getting myself sidetracked of what you're sitting there listening to me talk about, and you're going, Jackson, you were just in the middle of a sentence. I'm sorry for that. It's a pet peeve of mine too. But yeah, Lydia's saying, bet it's much tastier. Diet Coke showed up when I was trying to click on Lydia's. So glad to have you back, Jackson. That's not the one. Bet it's much tastier freshly caught. Oh, absolutely. 100%. That is part of the lure of going out to do it. And then thank you so much for saying, so glad to have me back. Thank you. Okay, yeah. I'm just kind of randomly clicking on these, but thank you, Diet Coke. Diet Coke 73. So yeah, folks, I think I'll balance it out here at an even 2 hours. I really thank you all for coming here, even if it was just what I'm seeing here is the numbers watching could be a misrepresentation and it's truly only one person watching. I treat that one as though you're 55, each and every one of you. I respect you for being here. I'm not trying to love bomb you. It means a lot to a human being when there's other people that show up to listen to you. So I think you deserve the respect to be acknowledged for your presence. And that's why I feel motivated to say something about it. So I'm going to try I've got some time. If you don't mind, subscribe to my channel for the 54 of you that are left who haven't, because that will afford me knowing that I'm allowing you to know and predict to when I'm going to show up next. So hitting the subscribe button does nothing more, because I'm not here for money. I'm not here for likes, clicks, this, that, or the other thing. I am simply only here to afford a place for people to come to get more truth and better understanding of the fear factory known as Scientology. So if you click on that subscribe, I'm probably going to come back tomorrow, Saturday, the 17th, right? Today's the 16th. And if maybe Sunday and Monday and this on and off throughout this coming week. So that's what I'm here for. So if you guys take the time to hit the subscribe button so you can then be notified, that's the only reason I ask. Otherwise, it's the luck of the draw and maybe the word will get out. I'll learn other ways to get the word out wider. That's up to me to do, right? And I'm not can't burden you with that. That's my job. So thank you all for coming. Um, I really appreciate you coming here to listen. So until next time, bye-bye, folks. And have a good day. Have a good rest of your day. And stream. Yeah, I clicked on it.